Hey guys, Mr. Riz here. And I'm going to help you out on the entire activity of 225. So part one and part two work together really well. So we're just going to spend some time going over a longer video. I also want to make sure we spend some time and reflect on these things. So we'll be doing this throughout some time here. It won't just be like a 2-day activity. We'll spend some time making sure we can reflect over these things. But we're going to go through both parts a little bit quicker than we normally do in class, but still show you what you guys are going to work on here. I'm going to also mute my video here or minimize it just because I know these lights are distracting, but this is the only quiet place that I have in my house right now. All right, so part one here, what we're going to be looking at is analyzing data and computing innovations. The second part, we'll be looking at a little bit of an explore task. So we want to make sure, or we understand the goals is to create an input, process, output, storage, or IPOS chart to describe the flow of data through a computing innovation of your choice. We'll identify inputs to a program and its outputs by a program. And we're also going to describe the risks to privacy by collecting and storing personal data on a computing system. So we just need to make sure that we have access to the internet here, and we'll be using everything here on campus as much as we can. So data types, let's make sure we remember things about data types. Data types include integers, numbers, booleans, text, images, video. So these are all different things that we could have saved as a variable on Python. All right, data can also be inferred through other types of information, such as like fingerprints, temperature, music, length of pictures, and so on and so forth. So what we have here is we have a list of some things here. What I want you guys to do is to basically think of these things here. We have like integers, and try to think of an example of that and the device used to collect that. So I have a couple filled out already for you. And if you want to just go through and copy this over here, you might have to copy a little bit more. Copy, and then paste it down here. We're going to start filling some of these in. So if you think about integers, we can think of as our temperature is typically an integer. Actually might be considered more of a float because you say like your temperature is like 100.2 degrees. But you can get that from a thermometer. Numbers are your age. You probably could switch those around, but you could get those from an online form. All right, so think about, do you have an example of a Boolean that could work out? So Booleans are your true or your false. So maybe something like, I don't know, like I'm hungry right now, so I'm thinking of like maybe you place like a DoorDash order. That's what I'm thinking about because I probably want to order some DoorDash for dinner here. Is there something that I click on? Basically, like you can think about your Boolean would be like, if I want to have ranch with my chicken wings, I could click on there. And so ranch is true or is it false? Or, like, do you accept those terms? So you can think about online forms or delivery things. Those are just typically Boolean values. I'm trying to think of if there's anything true or false, if it's basically like if you had like a circuit meter to check to see if you have a current or not through the electricals, it will tell you whether you do or you do not, yes or no, and you'd have that little tester there. All right, text, can you think of any time you receive a text? You can say like your name from an online form would be an easy example of a text, or your answer on Canvas could be an example of a text. All right, so images here, we got a couple of different examples. You can have pictures or fingerprints that you get from a camera or a scanner. Okay, can you think about how you can get video? You can think about, your Snapchat messages that you get from a camera or a phone. Same thing with audio that relates to that. You can have signals. So signals can be a lot of different things. You might want to think of this one here as like wavelength signals. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to scroll over here. So anytime you get some kind of signal wave from something, you can almost think of it too like a radio. Radio has frequencies that you are tuning in, and so that signal that you're getting, that's the input that you're getting on your antenna. And date and time, you guys can see there's a lot of different ways you can get that just online form. So hopefully just want to make you think about that there's these data types that are out that we get all the time that we receive, and the devices that we use to receive those things. So all this goes back to this input output process storage, or the IPOS chart, is a way to describe how data is collected, processed, and output and stored. So designers often use this to basically develop their software. So you think about your input. Okay, what data is consumed? Okay, you're processing. How are you going to transform that data? Are you going to store any part of that data? And then what's going to be the input or the output? What's going to be produced? So you can think about, scenario for typing a paper for a class. All right, your input, you have your strings that you type in on a keyboard. All right. Your process is basically you're formatting your paper. You're taking those strings that you're wording together in the correct order to make sense. All right. Your storage, you can save on your flash drive, you can save to the Google Cloud. And then your output. What is your output? Well, then you print it off and you turn it in, or you print off, or you output the Google Doc that you make. Okay, so next thing we want to do here is, we think about all the things that we have that we could be using, making sure that we understand whether they are input or output or potentially both devices here. So let's go through these, and we're going to indicate the data type and whether it's an input or an output. So if we're looking at our GPS here and we're looking at the data that's being used, the signals from the sensors and the location, is that input or is that output? I would say that's both input and output. Because we get the information from the GPS of where we're located and it outputs on the display. Okay. Google Glass, those are like the visual things that you wear. They basically show video or audio and location. Those things are all inputs. So there is a tiny display on the Google Glass that you probably could argue that it's output, but I think for this problem, we're going to put input because we're basically Google Glass is using all that visual stuff that it sees. It's getting the audio that it hears. It's getting your location, and it's storing that as a display. It's using that as like a little computer. Now there is a monitor here, so I probably could argue that it's both, but there we go. Twitter, your tweets and your texts. Okay, so those are all inputs. You input tweets, you input text. You can output it as a display as your feed, but we're going to say input here. Most of these are going to be inputs. Facial recognition software, the digital feed from the camera or image. So your digital feed from your camera, that's an input, and the image that you get is also an input. So we're just specifically looking at these data here. Now, their facial recognition might have like an output what opens up a door, but that's not a variable listed on here. All right, virtual reality, your motion from your joystick and your image. Okay, this should be input and output. All right, because we'd have the input from your motion of your joystick or your controllers that you're holding. That's your input that's getting the information of where your hand is located and the angle. And then the output affects the image. The image is the output part. All right, video conferencing software, account information and video. This one is definitely input and output. If you think about it, when you're on Zoom with somebody, you are sending your information to that Zoom meeting at the same time, or that's an output, but at the same time you're receiving, actually, I'm saying this backwards. You are inputting your visuals, your sound, your voice, your image into the computer, and output, it gets displayed to other people. All right, 3D printing here, your STL file and your GT code. Those are all inputs. That's pretty straightforward here as a great example of an input. Nothing like those are being manipulated. Now they do get created, so the actual 3D printer completion is your output, but those are the files are input. For crowdfunding, if you're looking at your bank account info and your text, those are all inputs. Okay, you input that into the information there. You might have a text output that says like, okay, it's going through, but typically with crowdfunding here, you're inputting this. This is what they need to know. Self-driving cars. All right, the light and the visual data. Those are all inputs. So if you think about it, there isn't too much like a self-driving car does to output data. It takes all the information that it's around it and goes through. Now, I'm sure some more advanced, like I haven't looked into a Tesla. I'm sure it might output its location to respective other Tesla cars that are out there. But pretty much this is just input, what's taking what information is by it. All right, phone monitoring system, your account and your information and your output, aka Net Nanny. Okay, so making sure we see, or your Go Guardian, that's a good one too. That is an input and an output. Because you are inputting, the websites that you're on, you're inputting what time you go on, what time you log into Canvas, what pages you look at, and then your output gets displayed to me, to the user, of what's going on. Submit the quiz. We'll see if we got those right. All right, a 1 out of 2 is a good sign there. Go through. Okay, so next what we're going to do is let's also work at part 2 here. Let me go ahead. I'll just put this in student view so that looks access denied. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do a little bit of research here and think about what data is being collected from you through the web. So what can others learn about you, and how worried should you be about the data collected through a bunch of the computing innovations we have? So we're going to go to this website here. Hopefully it works at school, and it's aboutmyinfo.com. And we're going to examine the How Unique Are You section. So let's go through this here and load up, please. All right, we're going to look at the How Unique Am I? So I'm going to go through, I'm going to put my information in here, and I don't think I'm going to put anything that you guys need to, you probably couldn't figure out already. I was born on Christmas Eve, 1985. I identify as a male. I live in Canal, Winchester. Let's submit that. All right, so easy identifiable information by birthday. So there's only one person in the, in Canal, Winchester, which has about 34,000 people that have my exact birthday. Only 255 people have that same year, but there are a lot of people with that same. So that's pretty crazy. What if I actually just change this to, is any Lancaster any different? 4-3. Bigger people here. Still, I'm the only one with my birth date here. So if we think about here, what information, what data is being collected? Your birthday, your gender, and your zip code is being collected from you. All right. How is it being collected from you? Well, it's being collected from input boxes on the website, right? All right. Why might you be easily identifiable by this information? Hint. We're going to try to estimate the number of people living in your zip code and the number of unique combinations of birthday gender. Okay, so if you think about this here, this probably isn't too bad. I mean, even Lancaster has just about 60,000 people in that zip code here. That's not a lot of people for all the birthday combinations there. So there's 365 per year. Times that by, if you think about 18 years of people, that's a lot of different combinations there. Let me see if I can get like I don't know, what's the largest zip code? Largest zip code by population. All right, which one is this? What's a 7-3? Oh, is this Texas? El Paso. Must just be a huge zip code. Okay. Huge area here. So let's change. Let's look to see how crazy it is. Oh man, the 79936. All right, so here we got 100. It's really not even that big. And I'm still the only unique person there. Really, I figured like New York is probably split up. New York City zip code. You want to go to Brooklyn? Let's do Brooklyn. See, they probably split. Yeah, they have like a whole bunch of different zip codes. Like Brooklyn, look at all those that are just in Brooklyn. All right, so yeah, there really isn't too much. So basically, you can think about here for this problem, why might you be easily identifiable? Because each year there's 365 different birth dates that could happen. Times that by the number of years, you're getting some number close to like the population. So just like 10 years is 3,600. So it's really not too much. Plus you got, maybe average 60 years of range there. You start getting a lot. All right. So next, how you input it. Okay. Oh, we already did that there. All right. So what concerns do you have about sharing your data on this website? Are you concerned about your privacy or your security? So if we go back to this one here, we inputted our birthday, our gender, and our thing. Actually, does that change it all? Oh, I did not notice that. So the other thing too, it does go by your gender too. So there are a few more people here. Let me think about that. How are your concerns about your privacy security? So this is kind of like the first part is really just an opinion, and you have to explain it. So what concerns do you have? Like, I might be a little concerned that the fact that I am definitely the only male in Canal Winchester with my birth date. So if like you know where I live and you just know my birth date, you can then link that to everything else about me. You can probably find some other things too. You can find my name. I have an extremely unique name. So I know that you can also then kind of relate that to my child and my family and find some other things. You can find a lot of information. My name isn't John Smith. So it's not going to be as common. So how concerned am I? Personally, I'm not that concerned because I know I take the proper steps protecting the really important information, like my bank account information and other things. And I have protections behind that. So, and also too, I am like a public school teacher, so some of the information has already been out there and is acceptable. I'm not sure if you guys know this too, but you can look up a lot of your teachers' information too because it has to be public record. Okay, so record your output. All I want you guys to do for here is to just basically, let me go back to this here, to just go through and copy this down here. So paste that in, basically show me that you went through this process. I'll be interested to see like what you guys come out, if there's somebody else who has a birthday. If you're a twin too, that's gonna be kind of more. Okay, next, let's look at data privacy and security. So you have to provide this information every time you visit a doctor, attend school, register to vote, or in another, so many different situations. But doctors and schools must follow laws such as the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act, or AKA the HIPAA Act. And this is a huge thing this year, especially with all the COVID stuff. We're not allowed to know exactly who has COVID, but we have to make sure the class is quarantined. So those are things that are just kind of weird. Like you can't share information about who's sick and who has, certain illnesses and who has what. That's only between a doctor and its patients. And also there's the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, or the FERPA. So that's basically if you have like special needs or you have any educational things, like those cannot just be shared to the public. I can't just be like, oh yeah, John has a learning disability. And so, okay, guys, everybody, John gets more time on class, or Susie gets more time on this assignment because she has dyslexia. Those are all information that has to be private, and that's only available between the educator and the student and the parent as well too. So all of those information specify how and when the data they collect can be shared. However, other websites and organizations don't have those rules for the data they collect. So HIPAA's all protected. Like that information, anybody just can't get to it. If I was, even if I worked at the doctor's office, I can't get to your portal, your patient portal, without violating HIPAA. I can't share, even though I'm a teacher, if I don't have you as a student in my classroom, I can't look up your, your special education needs. Okay, those all have to be protected information that only certain people can get to. But something like Facebook that gets your information, or any social media site, is going to go through. So you guys can look at your own social media website that you guys want to use here, and you're just going to answer these follow-up questions. I would describe what social media site you're going to look at. I'm going to use Facebook here because I hate it so much. And then we're going to talk about this. So what data from your selected social media is collected from you? So if I just think about Facebook right now, I know that, okay, my name is collected, my email is collected, my birthday is collected, my family's information is collected, my location's collected, I have images that are collected. Geez, God, what else is collected? Like, what isn't collected from? On the marketplace, you can link your credit card information so you can buy things from people here. So you have that collected. I'm sure that if you're wearing some Fitbit, you can probably, or you're wearing a smartwatch that has a Facebook app attached to it. I'm sure your health information is shared. Like, it's very concerning. So the privacy of all that information it's out there. You know, if I have a Facebook account, which it seems like everybody has to have a Facebook account, um, it's kind of concerning because there's no law that says that Facebook is not allowed to share that information with anybody else. So everything on my Facebook account, I pull up my Facebook, but I'm afraid to show you guys what's going on. In fact, I'll just go back. All that information could be shared with some companies, could be stolen from somebody. So the information that I use to make my Facebook account better, you know, to make sure I know who my relatives are and they get, you know, or my friends know when my birthday is, can be used by somebody else. One thing too, just real recently, I saw that I would just couldn't stop thinking about is there was like the Facebook, there was a thing like, hey everybody, like it's a Valentine's Day challenge. Let's talk about your first love. And so fill out this questionnaire, those survey. That survey had actually a lot of personal information on it that might be used as like your security password. It's like, hey, what year did you guys meet? How long have you been dating? What's the name of your children? What town did you guys meet in? What street did you live on growing up? You know, just like it just started being kind of weird. And it's like, geez. And especially, I mean, don't want to get too political here, but I think people know the concerns about foreign countries taking information from Facebook. People put so many pictures on Facebook too that your pictures are not private if you publicly share them. So people can take your face, your images that you put on there, and they can manipulate those and to basically make like deep fakes using your face, making fake people. So what data is required and what data can you opt out of? So this is something that you guys were going to have to look at specifically at your account. So I know some things on Facebook you can, you know, turn off. Like just specifically, I know like if I'm on a game, I can turn that information off to make sure that that doesn't get shared with other people. Like, okay, I don't need people to know that I'm logging into this game, or I don't want that other information to be shared. Or like, I have my DoorDash is linked to my Facebook account just so that way it makes logging in easier. That information of me, you know, Facebook doesn't know that I'm ordering 2 dozen chicken wings at 2 a.m. because I'm having a rough day. No, like some of those informations you can't opt out of. And so privacy or concern, it does make me feel better that other information isn't out there, that DoorDash isn't, or other competitors aren't going through and be like, hey, I saw that you ordered chicken wings from DoorDash. You should probably order them from Uber Eats because we got that connected between Facebook. But go through. All right, how does the selected social media site use its data it collects, privacy or concern? So I'm sure you can see other information. If you scroll through Facebook, they get the cookies and you will get ads. I'm looking for a brand new mattress right now because I'm old and I go to sleep and I wake up and I'm sore. So I know I need to replace my mattress. So I was looking on other websites that for mattresses, and since it's connected, my Google's connected to the Facebook, I'm getting Facebook ads on for mattresses, even though I never looked up a mattress store on Facebook. So is this a concern or not? Yeah, kind of. It gets really weird. My wife is convinced it's listening to her and we'll have conversations. And the next thing you know, it pulls up. Now, I think it's more related to they have other information that you're a 34-year-old white female in Central Ohio who's, you know, has a master's degree. Those correlations probably go through, be like, oh, I bet you have questions about toddlers because probably people around that age most likely have toddlers. And so some things too, like I'm sure you guys might get ads for college information. And it's not because they know you're specifically looking at college stuff. They just know, hey, you're a 17-year-old person interested in computer science, and you probably want to go through and look at colleges that, you know, appear to computer science. They're kind of like just taking a really good educated guess. So go through that. Let's see. Oh, one more question. Oh, a couple more. Two more. Geez, I thought I was done. So is your data stored permanently or can you delete it from that selected media site? That all depends on the site. So you might have to Google that information there. Some of the information is stored permanently. The information you type on there, and it wouldn't surprise me. They can sell data. Data is worth money. So the more you provide that to them, that's more it's worth. And it's also kind of weird. Like, well, if I give my data to a company, shouldn't I get part of that money too? So kind of think about, you know, is that privacy a concern or not? And then these are all kind of opinions. Just make sure that you guys, for each one of these questions here, that you're going through and you're explaining these well. So these shouldn't be like just one sentence, you know, 5-word answers. All right. Last question here. How have the social media platforms affected our privacy? So this is a really open general question here, but you can probably think about it. Now, I personally, there's no right or wrong answer here, but I really think like this has definitely exposed our privacy. We are no longer like, if you want to be, you know, a true free American, you cannot be on Facebook. Your information will be shared. It's going to be saved. It's going to be stored, and people are going to find some things out about you. Now, is that okay or not? And now I'm completely fine with Facebook knowing how old am I. They know some other information where I'm located, because I can use that to my benefit. I can go through and I can find a mattress store that's closer to me that's having a good sale. All right, I didn't have to go on there and then specifically look in an incognito window about Lancaster, Ohio mattress companies. But I can find that, and that information is provided to me quicker. I'm actually to find more resources available. I can think of a ton of different times I found things that I am really interested in because I saw it on Facebook and that linked me to other things. All right. But my privacy was exposed at that time. The fact that I liked looking up, I don't know, it was probably Paper Mario strategies or something like that. And that helped me link to other different things, or looking up barbecue recipes. And now I'm getting a ton of different ones that pop up on my feed, you know, little TikTok videos because I like to go, you know, cook on my barbecue. Yeah, I mean, if I really, you know, it's one of those things like I don't really care that people know that I like to barbecue. Now, there are other private things that I don't want on the internet and I don't want shared. I don't want them to know about my health concerns or anything like that. I don't want them to know about like my child or anything like any. I'll let them decide whether or not they want that information. So some of that stuff is out there. It's just one of those things to think about too as you guys get older. Especially, I'm just thinking about, you know, I have a newborn son here, and I have a toddler as well. Um, you know, a lot of people are out there sharing pictures of their son, you know, children, and they're constantly uploading pictures of their children. Those pictures are always going to be there, and some of those pictures are not the best. Like I looked at my cousin. I'm going to always blame my cousin, but like putting naked pictures of their daughter, you know, even though it's like, you know, not even 1 year old in a bathtub, and you get to see the butt, like her name is linked to that account. And who knows, like maybe that is something that's questionable. Who knows what's going to happen in 20 years when they go and apply for a job and the person goes ahead and looks up their information, and one a picture that pops up, even though it's originally was dated 20 years ago, pops up of some naked baby. Like it's just kind of weird. Like hopefully you have a digital presence bigger than that goes through. So sorry I kind of rambled here, but we definitely want to spend some time in class kind of going through this and really discussing our privacies and making sure we understand all that. All right, guys, so that was long. Hopefully you guys can thought deeply about these connections here and just, you know, kind of realize everything that we're doing online. All right, guys, have a great day, and I will see you later.